Hello everyone to the Daily Dose at Home with the Calgary Zoo. I'm Deanna Snell and I'm the registrar at the Calgary Zoo and I transport animals. One of the cool things about my job is that not a lot of people know that we actually move animals all the time at the zoo and what's required to do that in order to make a successful move from one zoo to another or for release. So for example, we have to think about temperature, we have to think about the size of the animal. How are we going to move that animal from point A to point B? What are the requirements if we're moving them from Canada to the US or Canada to Europe? What are the requirements for that, whether it's medical or if they need paperwork, like what permits they need. So I'm kind of like their travel agent. If you need a visa to get into a country, how long is that visa for? Do you need any vaccinations to go to that visa, to that country? What are those requirements? That's what I do, but I do it for an animal instead of a human being. And it always is species specific. It's something that you would move. For example, if I was moving a frog, would be very different from moving a gorilla. So one of the questions I often get is, why do you move animals? And so there's lots of different reasons. Ones might be reintroduction into the wild. So we've reintroduced fishers, we've reintroduced whooping cranes, that kind of thing. Others might be a species survival plan recommendation, where we have been told by an independent body that this animal, one of our animals, is supposed to move to another animal, maybe for a breeding recommendation. Third reason might be a part of our collection plan. We always do collection planning in our, like the senior management does collection planning. So what do we want our zoo to look like in 5 years? And so as many of you are probably aware, we're actively involved with whooping crane and reintroduction. And as you can imagine, they are big birds. So a lot of times, instead of shipping the birds, we'll ship the fertile egg. We have a keeper take a cooler, essentially a modified cooler, put the eggs in the cooler so they maintain it into the appropriate temperature so that it'll successfully hatch out at the receiving institution. And usually when we do, we have found that the best success rate for chicks to hatch out successfully and then be reintroduced into the wild population is closer to the date of hatch. So that gives me a very tight timeline on how to move this egg. One of my challenges is they have to go during a weekday because I'm dealing with governmental bodies that only work Monday to Friday, so they have to be flown out between Monday and Friday. They have to arrive at the airport, at certain specific airports, between 8 and 2, so that they can meet up with the appropriate authorities to have their appointment done, inspected and that kind of stuff, and then cleared by customs before it's then put on a connecting flight to the institution that's going to captive hatch out and rear that bird for introduction into the wild. Whooping crane eggs are pretty small, so those ones are easier to ship, but then we have to ship hippos. And one of those, so of course that's a very big animal to ship. So what we did when we brought Lobi in from Granby Zoo is we modified a sea can. Cool thing that we did with this sea can is we modified it such that there was room for Lobi on his side, and then there was an area that we partitioned off so that when we stopped and have the animal rest, the keeper could go from the truck into the sea can, check on Lobi safely so that we could take care of him while he was in transit. Thank you for listening to some of the behind the scenes stories like mine today. Try your challenge today by downloading the PDF and tune in next time for your daily dose.